everyone. So I just got finished making the videos for I Am Number 4 by Pittacus Lore for chapters 4 and 5. No, I'm sorry, for 3 and 4, and I'm going to be starting off on chapter 5. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the book so far. I think it's wonderful. I know it's just the beginning, but once this stuff starts going, it just keeps going and getting really into awesomeness. So here we go for I Am Number 4 by Pittacus Lore. Chapter 5. Let me see, I gotta do my little timer thing, because I'm definitely going to try to keep this video probably under 20 minutes since the last video was pretty long. I crawl to the door and unlock it. It swings open. Henry is covered in dirt, wearing gardening clothes as though he had been working outside on the house. I'm so happy to see him that I have the urge to jump up and wrap my arms around him. And I try to, but I'm too dizzy and I fall back onto the floor. "Is everything okay in there?" asks Mr. Harris, who is standing behind Henry. "Everything's fine. Just give us a minute, please." Henry says back. "Do I need to call an ambulance?" "No." The door shuts. Henry looks down at my hands. The light in the right one is shining brightly, though the left dimly flickers as though trying to gain confidence in itself. Henry smiles widely, his face shining like a beacon. "Ah, thank Lorien," he sighs, then pulls a pair of leather gardening gloves from his back pocket. "What dumb luck that I've been working in the yard. Put these on." I do, and they completely hide the light. Mr. Harris opens the door and sticks his head through. "Mr. Smith, is everything okay?" "Yes, everything is fine. Just give us 30 seconds, Henry says, then looks back at me. "Your principal meddles." I take a deep breath and exhale. I understand what is happening, but why this? "Your first legacy?" "I know that, but why the lights?" "We'll talk about it in the truck. Can you walk?" "I think so." He helps me up. I'm unsteady, still shaking. I grab hold of his forearm for support. "I have to get my bag before we leave," I say. "Where is it?" "I left it in the classroom." "What number?" 17. "Let's get you to the truck and I'll go get it." I drape my right arm over his shoulder. He supports my weight by putting his left arm around my waist. Even though the second bell is rung, I can still hear people in the hall. "You need to walk as straight and as normal as you can." I take a deep breath. I try to gather any bit of strength I might have on reserve to tackle the long walk out of the school. "Let's do this," I say. I wipe the sweat from my forehead and follow Henry out of the dark room. Mr. Harris is still in the hallway. "Just a bad case of asthma," Henry tells him, and walks past. A crowd of 20 or so people are still in the hallway, and most of them are wearing cameras around their necks, waiting to get into the dark room for photography class. Thankfully, Sarah isn't among them. I walk as steadily as I can, one foot in front of the other. The school's exit is 100 feet away. There's a lot of steps. People are whispering. What a freak. Does he even go to school here? I hope so. He's cute. "What do you think he was doing in the dark room to make his face so red?" I hear, and everyone laughs. Just like we can focus our hearing, we can close it off, which helps when you're trying to concentrate amidst noise and confusion. So I shut out the noise and follow closely behind Henry. Each step feels like 10, but finally we reach the door. Henry holds it open for me, and I try to walk on my own to his truck, which is parked up front. For the last 20 steps, I drape my arm around his shoulders again. He opens the truck door, and I scoot in. "You said 17? "Yeah." "You should have kept it with you. It's the little mistakes that lead to big mistakes. We can't make any." "I know. I'm sorry." He shuts the door and walks into the building. I hunch over in the seat and try to slow my breathing. I can still feel the sweat on my forehead. I sit up and flip down the sun visor so I can look into the mirror. My face is redder than I thought, my eyes a little watery. But through the pain and exhaustion, I smile. Finally, I think. After years of waiting, after years of my only defense against the Mogadorians being intellect and stealth, my first legacy has arrived. Henry comes out of the school carrying my bag. He walks around the truck, opens the door, tosses my bag on the seat. "Thank you," I say. "No problem." When we're out of the lot, I remove the gloves and take a closer look at my hands. The light in my right hand is beginning to concentrate itself into a beam, like a flashlight, only brighter. The burning is beginning to lessen. My left hand still flickers dimly. You should keep those on until we're home, Henry says. I put the gloves back on and look over at him. He is smiling proudly. Been a shit long wait, he says. Huh? I ask. He looks over. A shit long wait, he says again, for your legacies. I laugh. Of all the things Henry has learned to master while on Earth, profanity is not one of them. A damn long wait, I correct him. Yeah, that's what I said. He turns down our road. So, what next? Does this mean I'll be able to, shoot lasers from my hands, or what? He grins. It's nice to think so, but no. Well, what am I going to do with light? When I'm getting chased, am I going to turn and flash it in their eyes like it's supposed to make them cower from me or something? Patience, he says. You aren't supposed to understand it yet. Let's just get home. And then I remember something that nearly makes me jump out of my seat. Does this mean we can finally open the chest? He nods and smiles. Very soon. Oh, yes, I say. The intricately carved wooden chest has haunted me my entire life. It's a brittle-looking box with a Loric symbol on its side that Henry has remained completely secretive about. He's never told me what's in it, and it's impossible to open, and I know, because I've tried more times than I can count. Never with any luck. It's held shut with a padlock with no discernible slot for a key. When we get home, I can tell that Henry has been working. The 3 chairs from the front porch have been cleared away and all the windows are open. Inside, the sheets over the furniture have been removed. Some of the surfaces wiped clean. I set my bag atop the table in the living room and open it. A wave of frustration passes over me. Son of a bitch, I say. What? My phone is missing. Where is it? I had a slight disagreement this morning with a kid named Mark James. He probably took it. John. You were in school for an hour and a half. How the hell did you have a disagreement already? You know better. It's high school. I'm the new kid. It's easy. Henry removes his phone from his pocket and dials my number. Then he snaps it, phone shut. It's turned off, he says. Of course it is. He stares at me. What happened? He asks in that voice I recognize, the voice he uses when pondering another move. Nothing. Just a stupid argument. I probably dropped it on the floor when I put it into my bag, I say, even though I know I didn't. I wasn't in the best frame of mind. It's probably waiting for me in the lost and found. He looks around the house and sighs. Did anyone see your hands? I look at him. His eyes are red, even more bloodshot than they were when he dropped me off. His hair is tousled and he has a slumped look as though he may collapse in exhaustion at any moment. He last slept in Florida 2 days ago. I'm not sure how he's even still standing. Nobody did. You were in school for an hour and a half. Your first legacy developed. You were nearly in a fight, and you left your bag in a classroom. That's not exactly blending in. It was nothing. Certainly not a big enough deal to move to Idaho or Kansas or wherever the hell our next place is going to be. Henry narrows his eyes, pondering what he just witnessed and trying to decide whether it's enough to justify leaving. Now is not the time to be careless, he says. There are arguments in every school every single day. I promise you. They aren't going to track us because some bully messed with the new kid. The new kid's hands don't light up in every school. I sigh. Henry, you look like you're about to die. Take a nap. We can decide after you've had some sleep. We have a lot to talk about. I've never seen you this tired before. Sleep a few hours. We'll talk after. He nods. A nap would probably do me some good. Henry goes into his bedroom and closes the door. I walk outside, pace around the yard for a bit. The sun is behind the trees with a cool wind blowing. The gloves are still on my hands. I take them off and tuck them into my back pocket. My hands are the same as before. Truth be told, only half of me is thrilled that my first legacy has finally arrived after so many years of impatiently waiting. The other half of me is crushed. Our constant moving has worn me down, and now it'll be impossible to blend in or to stay in one place for any period of time. It'll be impossible to make friends or feel like I fit in. I'm sick of the fake names and the lies. I'm sick of always looking over my shoulder to see if I'm being followed. I reach down and feel the 3 scars on my right ankle. 3 circles that represent the 3 dead. We are bound to each other by more than mere race. As I feel the scars, I try to imagine who they were, whether they were boys or girls, where they were living, how old they were when they died. I try to remember the other kids on the ship with me and give each of them numbers. I think about what it would be like to meet them, hang out with them, what it might have been like if we were still in Lorien, what it might be like to fate of our entire race wasn't dependent on the survival of so few of us. What it might be like if we weren't all facing death at the hands of our enemies. It's terrifying to know that I'm next. But we've stayed ahead of them by moving, running. Even though I'm sick of running, I know it's the only reason we're still alive. If we stop, they will find us. And now that I'm next in line, they have undoubtedly stepped up the search. Surely they must know we are growing stronger, coming into our legacies. And then there's the other ankle, and the scar to be found there, formed when the Loric charm was cast in those precious moments before leaving Lorien. It's the brand that binds us all together. So that was chapter 5. We're at about 10 minutes. Let me see how long chapter 6 is. I did promise that this one would be a shorter video. Well, chapter 6 is only like 3 pages, or 6 pages, whatever. So I'll read it, and then we'll call it quits on this one, this video. Chapter 6. I walk inside and lie on the bare mattress in my room. The morning has worn me out, and I let my eyes close. When I reopen them, the sun is lifted over the tops of the trees. I walk out of the room. Henry's at the kitchen table with his laptop open, and I know he's been scanning the news, as he always does, searching for information or stories that might tell us where the others are. "Did you sleep?" I ask. "Not much. We have internet now, and I haven't checked the news since Florida. It was gnawing at me." "Anything to report?" I ask. He shrugs. A 14-year-old in Africa fell from a 4-story window and walked away without a scratch. There's a 15-year-old in Bangladesh claiming to be the Messiah. I laugh. Well, I know the 15-year-old isn't us. Any chance of the other? Nah. Surviving a 4-story drop is no great feat, and besides, if it was one of us, they wouldn't have been that careless in the first place, he says, and winks. I smile and sit across from him. He closes his computer and places his hands on the table. His watch reads 11:36. We've been in Ohio for slightly over half a day, and already this much has happened. I hold my palms up. They've dimmed since the last time I looked. "Do you know what you have?" he asks. "Lights in my hands?" He chuckles. "It's called Lumen. You'll be able to control the light in time." I sure hope so, because our cover is blown if they don't turn off soon. I still don't see what the point is, though. There's more to Lumen than mere lights, I promise you. What's the rest? He walks into his bedroom and returns with a lighter in his hand. "Do you remember much of your grandparents?" he asks. Our grandparents are the ones who raise us. We see little of our parents until we reach the age of 25, when we have children of our own. The life expectancy for the Loric is around 200 years, much longer than that of humans, and when children are born, between the parents' ages of 25 and 35, the elders are the ones who raise them while the parents continue honing their legacies. A little. Why? Because your grandfather had the same gift. I don't remember his hands ever glowing, I say. He shrugs. He might never have had reason to use it. Wonderful, I say. Sounds like a great gift to have, one I'll never use. He shakes his head. Give me your hand. I give him the right one, and he flicks the lighter on, then moves it to touch the tip of my finger with the flame. I jerk my hand away. What are you doing? Trust me, he says. I give my hand back to him. He takes hold of it and flicks the lighter on again. He looks into my eyes, then he smiles. I look down and see that he is holding the flame over the tip of my middle finger. I don't feel a thing. Instinct causes me to jerk my hand free anyway. I rub my finger. It feels no different than it did before. Did you feel that? He asks. No. Give it back, he says. And tell me when you do feel something. He starts at my fingertip again, then moves the flame very slowly up the back of my hand. There's a slight tingle where the flame touches the skin. Nothing more. Only when the fire reaches my wrist do I begin to sense the burn. I pull my arm free. Ouch! Lumen, he says. You're going to become resistant to fire and heat. Your hands come naturally, but we'll have to train the rest of your body. A smile spreads across my face. Resistant to fire and heat, I say? So I'll never be burned again? Eventually, yes. That's awesome! Not such a bad legacy after all, huh? Not bad at all, I agree. Now, what about these lights? Are they ever going to turn off? They will. Probably after a good night's sleep when your mind forgets they're on, he says. But you'll have to be careful not to get worked up for a while. An emotional imbalance will cause them to come right back on again if you get overly nervous or angry or sad. For how long? Until you learn to control them. He closes his eyes and rubs his face with his hands. Anyway, I'm going to try to sleep again. We'll talk about your training in a few hours. After he leaves, I stay at the kitchen table, opening and closing my hands, taking deep breaths and trying to calm everything inside of me so the lights will dim. Of course, it doesn't work. Everything in the house is still a mess aside from the few things Henry did while I was at school. I can tell that he is leaning towards leaving, but not to the point that he couldn't be persuaded to stay. Maybe if he wakes and finds the house clean and in order, it'll tip him in the right direction. I start with my room. I dust, wash the windows, sweep the floor. When everything is clean, I throw sheets, pillows, and blankets on the bed, then hang and fold my clothes. The dresser is old and rickety, but I fill it and then place the few books I own on top of it. And just like that, a clean room, everything I own put away and in order. I move to the kitchen, putting away dishes and wiping down the counters. It gives me something to do and takes my mind off my hands, even though, while cleaning, I think about Mark James. For the first time in my life, I stood up to somebody. I've always wanted to, but never did because I wanted to heed Henry's advice, to keep a low profile. I've always tried to delay another move for as long as I could, but today was different. There was something very satisfying about being pushed by somebody and responding by pushing back. And then there's the issue of my phone, which was stolen. Sure, we could easily get a new one, but where's the justice in that? Alright, so that was chapter 6. I'll begin chapter 7 in my next video. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you're really enjoying the story. I really love it. I know it starts off just a little slow, but it's really going to pick up the pace soon, and it's going to get great. So, thanks, and bye.